Okay, so my first proper video. Let's see, what should we talk about? Okay, how about camera hype? Now I've myself have on occasion given into camera hype. I started off with crop sensor cameras in a time when full frame. Oh, full frame! You must have full frame. And yes, full frame is good if you can afford it, because the glass that has to go with it is expensive and heavy. I currently don't shoot full frame, but I have shot full frame before. My first full frame camera was a Nikon D800. Fantastic camera, huge raw files, and it wasn't very quick when it came to processing the raw files through the buffer. Then I moved on to a Canon 5DS, 50 megapixels, huge files, and I was using f4 lenses on that, so I wasn't getting the full benefit of that image sensor really, except when I used a 80mm lens in studio, which you can see on my website. After that, I tried an A7R Mark III, a Sony A7R Mark III, and I have to say, sorry, A7R Mark II, not Mark III. God, they're too expensive. And I just couldn't get on with the camera. The menu system was atrocious, battery life was awful, and even with a proper autofocus lens adapter, I had a 400mm, I think it was f4, f5.6, can't remember which, Canon L lens on it, trying to shoot deer in Parham Park, and the results were not very good. Everything was out of focus, and I just couldn't use it. So I just thought, sod it, and I went back to Canon, and I got a 5D SR instead of what I had before, which was a 5DS. Now that, well, again, wonderful camera, nothing wrong with it, but for the kind of photography I do, it's just not right. Heavy, lenses go on it are heavy again, and they're just, no. So that was, the last time I used that was when I went to Australia in May last year, May 2017. Between May and October 2017, I changed completely. I went mirrorless again, but this time I went the Fuji X-T2. And I have to say, I am not regretting that at all. It's a fantastic camera. Shoots 4K video internally as well. It does have a bit of a crop factor in the 4K video, which is a bit of a downside, but you know, that's to be expected. I've found it to be a wonderful camera. Having all those buttons on the top, I'll probably post a video later on, maybe next week. The plan is to do one a week, hopefully, and I'll walk you through my camera. I have a couple of nice lenses. I've got the kit lens, the 18 to 55 f2.8 to f4, which is, you think a kit lens are light, plasticky, like the EFS lenses you get with Canon. No, solid, really solid. You wouldn't think it was a kit lens. You think, you paid decent money. Yeah, very good lens. Combine that with the 55 to 200 lens, which is again an awesome lens. I shot some really good photos with that in Iceland in October, along with the kit lens. Again, you can see them on my website, and I'll repost the video slideshows of the two trips that I went on last year. So when it comes to cameras, you have to decide what kind of photography you're doing and what suits you. You can't just say, oh, full frame all the time. Now, if you're a professional sports photographer, you might want to look at, there are several full frame options. There's the Canon EOS 1DX Mark II, fantastic camera, very fast frame rate, does shoot 4K video as well. Then Nikon's offering is the full frame 5D, not 5D, D5, You can still get 4DSs. They're pretty good up there as well. You also have the crop sensor D500, which is probably their best crop sensor sports camera, as in phenomenal frame rate. The D850, I'm not too sure about that at the moment. It's been out for a while, but you have to get the very expensive battery grip to get the full frame rate out of a D850. Now Sony have just released their A7 Mark III, and that is lightning fast. It's basically a untuned A9, and if you know what an A9 is, then you know an A7 Mark III with that kind of frame rate. And about I think it's 80 or 90% of the frame is covered by all the focus points. I'm not entirely sure on how many are cross type or phase detect, but there's a lot. From what I've heard, that's a very good all-round camera, and it's their entry-level camera, and it's for £2,000 basically. £2,000 for an entry-level camera that's better than, I would say it's probably better than the Canon 5D Mark IV. And that's a good camera in itself. It's a good camera. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that camera. It all depends how much money you're prepared to spend and what you're willing to invest. I mean, I'd love to upgrade my XT2 to XH1, because that has in-body stabilization like Sony's mirrorless cameras, and has F-Log, which is their version of S-Log for video. But right now I can't really justify that expense. I could probably get another XT2 for 500-600, maybe 700 quid, second hand. And then I've got two cameras that I could take to sporting events. I could sit one on a tripod with a wide angle lens and a trigger, remote trigger, linked into my other camera, which is what I plan to do when I go to the World Rally. And that 24 megapixels is more than enough. That's the other factor you've got to take into account. What are you using it for? How are you displaying your work? If it's just internet, then having 40-50 megapixels sensor is too much. If you're planning on printing them like A0 above, huge posters, then yeah, maybe you do need something with that kind of megapixel count. So that's the other factor, megapixels. How do you need all those megapixels? And of course, glass. It doesn't matter how good your camera is. If you don't have good glass, you won't get good results. And that's a big mistake a lot of people do when they go up from a crop sensor camera to a full frame camera. They think, I've got a full frame camera now, so I can, like I did, I made a mistake going with an f4 lens, f2.8 lenses, the top end of the lenses, you'll get better results. So that's my little rant about cameras. Any questions, any comments you want to make, please do make them in the comments box below. Do be civil. Anyone that starts arguments or is insulting, they will be deleted, their comments will be deleted. It's that simple. Anyway, next video I will post I'll show you all the equipment I use. I'm currently shooting this with a Sony, where's the box? RX 10, I think it is, Mark IV. Very nice compact camera. I took that with me to Reykjavik. Nice little walk around camera. I'll probably be videoing most of my blogs with my little Sony, mainly because it's got a flip up screen which makes it easy to see. I do have two other, like I said, I have my XT2 and I have an Olympus Tough TG tracker, which is waterproof and Wi-Fi and shoots 4K video. It's a fixed lens. I'll be using that when I'm off exploring. I'll show you various things with that as well. Okay, well that's it for now. I might post something up over Easter weekend. If not, be Friday next week all the weekend when the next one comes up. So like I said, if there's any particular thing you'd like me to talk about, send me an email or post a comment, say can you talk about this, can you talk about that. I'll be quite happy to. Okay.